Perry's a professor, teaches poetics and English literature, and he was a professor in Oxford and worked there for some years, and then didn't get his contract renewed, and so has come back to London, and has probably has a sort of a slight sense of failing in that. As her career is taking off, his is sort of on a bit of a slide, and as happens with some men, he ends up sleeping with one of his students, probably because his self-esteem sort of low, and maybe that he thinks that might, or probably doesn't think very much about it, but I imagine he thinks that this probably has an adoring student who makes him feel great about himself and ends up in bed with her. So that's happened before the film starts, you know, and that's why I was so attracted to this, playing this relationship with Naomi, was the fact that it starts in such a sort of broken place. It's not often we see a couple in the center, you know, the romantic couple in the center of a story, where they've got this sort of broken dynamic. That's really interesting to play. There's something about Dima that he finds really interesting, and I think Dima represents a sort of life force that Perry's lost a bit, you know. Perry's in his, I just think this is obviously the same age as me, Perry's in his middle 40s, and you know, Dima's still sort of living large. He has huge parties, he's obviously very rich. He's a sort of a very masculine figure. I think it's quite attractive to Perry in a way. He represents something that Perry's feels a bit is lacking in his own life. Once it seems that Dima wants him to help more, and in fact MI6 want him to be involved now, and Gail, and set up this meeting in Paris where they've got to fake bump into Dima to set up an actual meeting between Dima and MI6. Hector, or MR6, played by Damian Lewis. Then Perry becomes kind of excited about it in terms of him becoming a sort of spy. Gail is going along with this deal, this espionage, if you like, because she feels that it's the only way to sort of try and save her marriage. I think she feels that she can see that Perry wants this or needs this, and so she's sort of going along with it for him. But there is a point, it seems, where she becomes attached to the children, the twins, you know, who are the orphan twins of Dima's best friend, who was murdered by this the head of the Vori, this new prince, and also feels that this family deserve the safe housing that they're seeking in Britain, and feels that the MI6 might be double. She seems less convinced by MI6 than Perry does, for instance. I think she doubts them and thinks that maybe they're using Dima and his family, and they probably don't necessarily care what happens to them, but she has become attached to them and does. So I think, I mean, you have to ask Naomi, because she's the only one that can really say it, but it seems to me that there's sort of two sides to it. She's doing it for Perry, and then she's doing it for this family as well. What Le Carre does best is that they're really real characters, really human characters, and in this case even more so because he's put two civilian people into the world of espionage. You know, he's plunked them right in the middle of this thriller in this story, and that's really quite interesting because you do think, what would I do? When I heard he was going to be playing Dima, I was so happy. And that, you know, really is, when you watch him in Dima's shoes, you know, you just can't imagine anyone else playing this part. He really embodies him. He's great. He's such a great actor, and I really am so fond of him as a man. I've always wanted to work with him, and it's been great to do this because we have some very nice scenes in this. And Perry's relationship with Hector, again, is quite interesting. Hector represents sort of, he's a spy, you know, and I think for Perry, he looks to him like a bit like a sort of James Bond character, you know. But then he also sees his flaws. You know, Hector doesn't always tell the truth, or you're never sure whether he's, you know, sometimes he has to question what's happening between him and Hector.